Hi, my name is Carissa Larson. I'm a program manager on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center team. Today, we're going to talk about how you can become a more efficient admin by utilizing some of the enhancements that we've brought to the Microsoft 365 admin experiences. Hopefully, they will help you to increase the speed at which you can get your tasks done, delegate tasks out to others who can help you, and to give you flexibility in the way that you work. But first, let's start by talking about time, specifically how little time we seem to have nowadays. The global pandemic is having a massive impact on the way that organizations work. We hear from IT admins that their budgets are being squeezed, while at the same time, the pace of digital transformation is accelerating. In a recent survey we conducted, 67% of organizations expected their IT budget to be impacted, and most of those thought it would be in a negative direction. In April, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella shared that we have seen 2 years of digital transformation in 2 months. That's a blistering pace. Admins are being asked to do much more with less. So how can you do more with less? Fortunately, we've heard from customers that they see an opportunity to consolidate onto Microsoft 365 services to help save money. Today, many of you are using a patchwork of tools. Parts of your organization are using the included services, but you also have some third-party tools that are being used by others, and they're expensive to purchase and to maintain. You've expressed interest to us in migrating your user base onto a single set of tools. The problem is that these migration projects, they take a lot of time and planning, so where will you find that time? Let's first start by taking a look at what's taking up that time today. You spend a little bit of your time on high-value projects, things that you're really excited and really interested in doing. Things like driving adoption campaigns to your end users, taking a look at the usage analysis, just what's going on inside of your organization, and increasing security, things that you would be happy to talk to your boss about and say, hey, I did this over the past year. But you're also spending a lot more time on things like investigative work, where you're looking at diagnosing an issue, finding a feature that is now available and discovering the fact that it's there. And then just deciphering which license is required to actually utilize that new feature. Things where it's important information and you need to go find it, but we should do a better job at giving you that information up front so that you're spending less time finding what's out there and more time actually doing. And finally, you're spending a lot of your time on everyday management, things like resetting passwords, adding users, and managing licenses. These are the core administration tasks that you'll always need to continue doing. But we hope that we can make those tasks faster to do, and that hopefully we'll be able to help you delegate some of those tasks to others who can help out so you're not shouldering that burden all on your own. What we think is that it should really look more like this. We want to give you as much time as possible in order to devote to those high-value projects. And the way that we think we can do this is, again, by making those everyday management tasks quicker to actually complete and having others in your organization help out with those everyday management tasks. And we'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation. One area where we think we have a lot of opportunity is actually decreasing the amount of investigative work that you need to do. We want to help present the information that you need when you actually need it, wherever you are inside of the admin experiences, so that you're not spending that time diagnosing or finding stuff. You're really thinking about just getting the work done that you need to get done. We also think that it's really important to make sure that we're focusing on efficiency across every stage of your admin journey, whether you're exploring Microsoft 365, whether you're getting started and onboarding to the tools and features that are available to you, whether you're already set up and just running through managing your Microsoft 365 environment, or whether you need to reach out to Microsoft in order to get help and support. We want to be there for you at every step of your journey, and we want to make sure that each step is as efficient as possible. I'm going to spend the majority of my time today talking about some of the managing your Microsoft 365 environment improvements that we've made in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. I'll spend a little bit of time on the support assistant and Microsoft support, and then we have some other sessions which I'll highlight at the end around onboarding and really getting started with Microsoft 365. So how do we think about efficiency, and how do we think about helping you improve your efficiency in your organization? We tend to think about it in three different categories. We think about delegation. The IT admin has traditionally taken on a lot of roles and responsibilities for their organization, and you're responsible for making sure that every end user in your organization is productive, that they're accessing the service in a secure manner, and that you are utilizing things that you've purchased. That's a lot of responsibility. We know that there are some really critical tasks that IT admins will need to do, and they will always need to do. But we think that we can help delegate out some of those less critical tasks, things like resetting passwords, and we'll get into that a little bit later. For the tasks that you're still going to handle as an IT admin, we want to make sure that those are as efficient as possible by increasing the speed at which you can get them done. Whether that refers to bringing in some information so you don't have to go look for that information in other ways, or whether it's just making sure that every step is really simple to go through and that you can flow from one step to the next without transferring between a lot of different admin centers. We think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to increase the speed at which you're able to complete those tasks. And the last focus that we have for efficiency is giving flexibility in the way that you work. We know that administration requires a whole host of different tools in order to get it done effectively and efficiently. And we want to make sure that we're providing integrations with the tools that you prefer to use so that you have flexibility in the way that you work and how you get your tasks done. I'm going to start off by running through a scenario which you've told us is pretty painful, and how we focused on bringing efficiency at every step of that scenario so that the whole workflow becomes more efficient. We've done quite a few updates in this particular workflow, and so I wanted to really highlight and showcase this one. And this scenario is ownerless group management. And the struggle is really real. Why are there ownerless groups? Ownerless groups occur when the last owner of a Microsoft 365 group leaves the organization. Most established customers have some ownerless groups. It's pretty easy for them to occur. So why is this important, and why should you pay attention to it? Well, first I wanted to share a stat with you guys that 65% of groups have only one owner and are at risk of becoming ownerless. If that owner leaves the organization, that group is now ownerless, and it can cause some problems. When the group becomes ownerless, it goes into a recoverable state, but if it sits in that recoverable state for a long period of time, it actually can get cleaned up and removed, and that can have a potential for data loss within the group. It also poses compliance risks. One of the important jobs for the owner of the group is making sure that the data within that group is compliant. If you don't have an owner, membership management can become difficult. Instead of someone that owns the group that's an end user in your organization being able to add and remove members from that group, suddenly that task falls to the IT admin. And finally, it can cause a decrease in productivity for group members. If they're looking to add or remove people or change the sensitivity of that group, there's not an owner who can handle that, and so they need to reach out to the IT admin in order to actually make those changes. And not only is it risky, but managing ownerless groups is painful. If you take a look at how you can prevent ownerless groups, it really relies on the knowledge of the group creator. They need to know that, hey, I should have a backup owner associated with this group so that in case anything happens to me or I decide to leave someplace else, then that content stays around and I'm not posing a risk to my organization. There's really no governance that's out there either. There's not a way to prevent this problem from happening in code or in policies. And if we take a look at how you monitor for ownerless groups today, that's also pretty painful. We hear a lot of customers build their own custom PowerShell scripts in order to search their organization for ownerless groups and to give them a report. Now, this is a pretty manual process. You have to put together that PowerShell script and you have to monitor it on a consistent basis. The other way to handle this is through manual searching, going through the groups list and trying to find groups that don't have owners. So pretty manual, takes up a lot of time. And then finally, how do you fix it? Well, you can always update the owner yourself, but you may not know who should be the new owner of the group. A lot of times your organization is big enough and they work on a lot of things, and you may not know that when Joe left, Bob should be the new owner. And so you may have to manually reach out to the group members in order to figure out who should be that new owner. Now, I said managing ownerless groups is painful, but what I want to land today is that managing ownerless groups was painful. We've added some experiences that we hope really help to decrease the amount of pain within this experience and scenario of managing ownerless groups. If we take a look at how you prevent them, we've added a message bar in the group creation process, which improved that owner assignment practice. And so instead of having to rely on the knowledge and the expertise of the group owner, we're providing an insight in line that can help tell them, hey, you really should have 2 owners at least for this group. And expected by early 2021, we're working on automating management of ownerless groups so that it's not relying on anyone's knowledge and you can automate that management of the ownerless groups. And if you look at monitoring these, we've also added some insights that we hope can help to remove that pain of having to create custom PowerShell scripts. We've added an owner count in the group detail panel so that as you're looking at an individual group, you can see whether or not that group is ownerless. We've also added a message bar that shows on that group detail panel so that if that group is ownerless, we're actually telling you that up front. And expected by early 2021, we're also bringing an aggregate count to the groups list so that you'll be able to see at any time how many ownerless groups you have across your organization, and you'll be able to use that aggregate in order to filter the list down and get directly into all of the groups that are ownerless. We hope that helps to make it a lot quicker to find and start addressing this ownerless group problem. And when you go to fix this problem, we've included 2 suggestions with that message in the group detail panel that I mentioned earlier. The first is to update the owner, and that is an action that has existed, but we're now suggesting it in this case. The second one is to email directly to the group members so that in case you don't know who should be the new owner, you can actually send them an email and ask them to nominate someone to be the new owner. So let's say I've had the good fortune that a virtual team has actually reached out to me to say that their team leader who owned their group has left. I go into the admin center and I can search for this Compete V team. And if I open up the Compete V team, I can see that, yes, this group has 0 owners. And I can see this message bar that is also telling me that no owners are assigned to manage group members and group data. If I already know who the new owner should be, I can click on Add Group Owners here, and I can assign the new group owner directly from this panel. But let's say that I'm actually not sure who the new group owner should be. They only told me that the old owner had left and didn't nominate someone else to be the new owner. And so in this case, I can actually click on Ask Members here. And you can see that this is going to send an email to the members of the Compete V team in order to nominate who the new owner should be. And it automatically includes all of the members as recipients of this email. But if I only want to send it to one person, I can remove some of the members. Let's say that Aaron Gu here, he is the one that reached out to me. And so I want to not distract the rest of the members and start off by communicating with him. And if I save him as the new recipient of this, you can see that there's some default text to communicate that this ownerless group problem is occurring and that you would like them to nominate someone else. But if I want this to feel a little bit more personalized, I can actually edit it with some text from me. And so I can say, please respond ASAP if I don't hear from you by Friday. I will assume this should be removed. And then I'm going to put my name in here as well so that he knows it's coming from the admin. And if I send this email, it's going to come from a Microsoft email address, and it will go to Aaron or the other recipients that I chose there. And when Aaron responds to that email, it will come through to my admin account. So now we're in Aaron's Outlook, and I can see that there is an email from the admin saying, hey, your Compete V Team 2 doesn't have an owner. Please respond. If I don't hear from you by Friday, I'll assume this should be removed. And as Aaron, I know, oh, yeah, I sent this email and I meant that I should be the new owner. I'll just quickly let the admin know that. So, hi, Carissa. I should be the new owner. Thanks. So now I'm back in my admin account, and I can see that I've received this email from Aaron. He's confirming that he should be the new owner. That's awesome. Now I know who this should be assigned to. So I can come back into the admin center here and click on Manage Group Owners. I will search for Aaron, and I can assign him as the new owner here. I've now successfully resolved this ownerless group issue for this group. We've also focused on improvements to help you proactively prevent ownerless groups within your organization. If I open up this Add Group wizard, let's say I'm creating a new group to help my executive admins collaborate. And you can see that this message bar has been added in order to present the information up front that 2 owners are critical in preventing the ownerless group problem. And so we're not relying on anyone having pre-existing knowledge of this. We're helping to present that knowledge right up front. And if I choose an owner here, I know that I'm going to want this group to have a team associated with it right from the get-go, because my organization is doing almost all remote work right now, and Teams is critical to making that work. And an owner of a group with a team associated with it must be licensed for Teams themselves. And so I can see who actually has Teams right here as I'm choosing the owners. And so I'm going to go ahead and choose Alfion here. And I will also add Alice as an owner. And this can help to bring the information to the forefront that you should be adding to owners. And we hope that it does some proactive prevention of ownerless groups. But we know that that is only a short-term solution. And so the groups team has been working hard on automating ownerless groups management, and that will be available by early 2021. And so when I look at the group settings here, I also wanted to highlight another improvement we've made in the Add Group wizard to help you be more efficient. We've added the ability to set the sensitivity label for the group directly when you're creating it. So I can see here that sensitivity labels are showing up, and I can use these labels to help enforce data governance and protect sensitive data within the group. This delegates the action of protecting groups from the end user or the security admin to the system itself. Set it once and use it across any content that you can create. Since this is my executive admins and they're usually talking about some pretty sensitive information, I'm going to go ahead and mark this as confidential. And I also want to make sure that it's private so that that data is protected only to those executive admins. And if I add in the group email address, you can see that right here I can create a team for this group. And I will go ahead and create this group. And once this group is created, I'll be able to show that you can see the sensitivity label associated with that group as well. And so if I go back into this Compete V team, I can see that this one is actually confidential. And if I search for the group that I just created, I can see that that confidential sensitivity label was applied. And so I mentioned earlier that we're also working on including that aggregate number at the top of the active groups list. And here you can see that I have 13 ownerless groups in my organization. And if I click on that 13 groups number, it'll actually filter down the list to show just those 13 groups. And so I can always get into that list of ownerless groups very easily. Now, I hope that these improvements that we've made to the ownerless groups experience can help to make that much less painful and help you manage the ownerless groups within your organization. And I hope that you can see how we're focusing across the entire workflow to make that more efficient. The Microsoft 365 Admin Center team is also looking at some additional workflows that customers have told us are pretty inefficient or pretty painful or pretty common today, and trying to make those workflows more efficient. We're looking at things like ensuring the business gets full value out of their Microsoft 365 services, understanding and planning for changes coming to Microsoft 365, managing licenses for end users, assessing status across multiple tenants if you have multiple tenants, and managing the groups and teams lifecycle. Now, at the end of this presentation, I'll provide some information about how you can get connected with us and give us feedback, and we'd love to hear from you on whether or not we're on the right track with these sets of workflows that are under investigation. Now, we've also made some more feature level improvements. We can't quite call them these end-to-end workflow improvements yet, but I did want to share some of the feature improvements that we've made that align with some of these categories and areas of focus for us. And so I'm going to start with delegation. And again, delegation is enabling others in the organization to help with traditional IT admin tasks. So I'm going to start by talking about the password management improvements that we've made. And the reason why we've made improvements here is password management is expensive. According to industry surveys, the average cost of a support call to reset a password is $70. And password reset calls typically make up about 20 to 50% of calls to your help desk. Now, that can add up really quickly to be a very expensive cost for your organization. Now, we recently took a look at our internal telemetry on our password management improvements, and we found that they led to a 19% increase in organizations turning on self-service password reset. And enabling self-service password reset empowers your end users to perform those resets themselves, which saves your organization money, and it saves it time as well. And so let's take a look at what some of those improvements actually are. We focused on increasing visibility into the fact that self-service password reset is included in your Microsoft 365 subscription, and that you need to actually enable it for your end users. And so we've worked on a set of recommendations that we've included in context in any experience where you may need to be managing passwords. So you can see here that we've integrated this recommendation for self-service password reset for your end users into the active users experience. It shows up at the top of the active users list underneath suggested actions and in context after you reset a password. Because allowing your end users to reset their own passwords can have such a large impact on your organization, we've tried to include it wherever you may be managing passwords. You can always dismiss these recommendations if you would like. Today, though, I'm going to start out on the setup page. This page is great to discover actions that Microsoft recommends I take to make sure my tenant is set up in a secure and productive manner. I see that I have a few sign-in and security actions I can perform. Let's start with allowing users to reset their own passwords. When I click into this experience, I get an overview of why I should be using this feature and what impact it has on my organization. I also see that I'll increase my Microsoft Secure score by completing this action, which is super nice. For admins, self-service password reset is always enabled. But if you haven't registered your alternate information, you'll need to call Microsoft support to reset your password. We strongly recommend you register your admin account so that you can quickly get back into your account if you lose your password. And so you can see here that we actually include this as another recommendation when I'm taking a look at self-service password reset for end users. And if I click into Get Started, I can enable self-service password reset either for select users or for everyone in my organization. And I'm going to go ahead and enable it for everyone in my organization. And now that self-service password reset is turned on, I want to go back and take a look at some of my users who may need some password assistance. And so if I take a look at Aaron here, so I can see that Aaron's password is about to expire. And this notification is a new feature that we've brought into the user detail panel in order to help provide you the information with who may need password assistance soon. And I have the option to either email Aaron or to send him a Teams message. And if I click on send a Teams message, that'll automatically open up Teams with a pre-populated message that I can send directly to Aaron. And I also wanted to show that Alfion here already has his password expired, which means that trying to send him a Teams message or sending him an email message to his Alrizki email here isn't really going to be useful because he's not going to be able to log into them. But if you know an alternate email address for Alfion, I can still enter that here and I can send him a message. If I'm concerned about what that message may look like and what we're including as text in that message, you can always send a test message, which gets sent to your admin account. I also wanted to highlight that we've added information about the last time the user has signed in the past 30 days. We're working on adding 30 days of history for sign-in events as well. This can help you spot any issues that may be occurring with the account. For now, you can see those details by clicking on the View Full Report in Azure Active Directory link. And if anything looked suspicious to me in those last sign-in events, I can take some preventative measures. I can block the user from signing in, I can reset their password, or I can initiate sign out of all of their Office 365 sessions. You can also reset passwords from the Microsoft 365 admin mobile app. With just 4 taps, you can quickly and easily reset a password, no matter where you are. The flexibility of the mobile app allows you to be the weekend or train hero in many scenarios. And at the end, we'll put up the link to the mobile session where you can really dig into the additional power and flexibility that this app gives you. I wanted to close out this part of the session by talking a little bit about something we're working on adding to the active users list. Now, you saw me show the aggregate for ownerless groups a little bit earlier, and we're also looking to add some aggregate insights to the top of the active users list. One of those that we're looking at is the number of users with risky sign-ins, and another one is the number of risky users. And hopefully this will help you to maintain your password security by showcasing events where you've actually got someone whose sign-in may look a little off, or that actually the user themselves look like they may have been compromised. And so again, presenting this information right up front so that you can easily monitor it and you can easily dig into those events instead of having to hunt around to find them. For the things that I've talked about in password management, the self-service password reset recommendation, the password expiry notice, resetting passwords through the mobile app, resetting passwords through search, and that last sign-in information are available today. The risky users insight in the active users list, as well as the risky sign-ins insight, that risky users filter, and the sign-in history for 30 days are expected by the end of 2020. And the last feature that I wanted to show you in this delegation category is a feature called shared templates. Now, I know that we had a feature very similar to this way back in Windows NT, but it's finally back. And templates has been available for about a year now, and they allow you to save specific settings when you're adding a user so that you can reapply those settings to new users. Things like what license do they have? What domain are they using? What is their office location? And this can help speed up the task of creating an individual user. But what we've heard is that you really want to share it with other admins. And so we've implemented the ability to make the template available to other admins who manage users. And then anyone who can manage users in your organization will be able to see and use this template to speed up their work. This can actually help with delegation by allowing some IT admins who may not be familiar with all of the settings that should be given to a user, but you definitely trust to create new users. It gives them this standardized set that they can always go back and use, so you can feel confident that users are getting created the right way the first time. Here you can see that this setting to publish this template and make it available to other admins who manage users is available in the Add User Template wizard. And I can also see the publish status in the Manage User Templates list. I can see that setting within the template detail panel as well. And now I wanted to cover a few more features that are focused on increasing the speed and reducing the time it takes to perform everyday actions. First, I wanted to start off by sharing some feedback we've got on why things are just so hard to find. We've got some quotes here that really nail it on the head of having to waste a lot of time fumbling around like it was my first time in the admin center because we make things difficult to find. And even a specific request for global search for anything so that it makes it quicker for me to find what I'm looking for. And so I'm going to show you some improvements that we've made to search, which I'm really excited to share. But I first wanted to show a view of what it looks like if you search for a term like role-based in the existing dashboard search. You can see that I've got some actions showing up here, but nothing that really speaks to me as role-based. And I'm going to jump into a demo of how we've transformed this experience. So the first thing that I notice as I come into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center homepage here is that search has actually moved up into the header. And if I do that same search for role-based, I can see that I'm getting a specific navigation node that seems a lot more related to managing roles. And I'm also getting documentation flowing through about role-based access control and what are admin roles in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. And so that's one of the really important things that we've added into search is both the navigation, and you can search across all the navigation nodes, as well as documentation pulled from docs.microsoft.com, so that you can have both the information and the actions presented to you right inside search. And I also wanted to highlight this feedback bar down here, and I will tell you a little bit later why that's so important, but please do let us know what you think about search. And if I click on roles here, I want to go take a look at my global admins. I know that getting down to the least number of global admins possible and making sure that everyone has least privilege is really important for the security of my organization. And so in this roles experience, I'm going to take a look at the global admins that I have assigned. So I can see here that, myself, this admin user, Alfion, Oscar, those all look good to me. So I see Ted is also listed here, and Ted is one of my SharePoint admins, but I don't think he actually needs global admin rights. And so what I'm going to do is actually take a look at Ted. And so if I go into the search here and search for Ted, I can find this user showing up as well. And one of the things that is really cool about the search moving from the dashboard up into the header is I can actually pull up his user detail panel right in the roles experience here. And so I can see all this information about Ted, and I can manage his roles here. And so if I click manage roles, I see, wow, does he have a lot of things assigned to him. So I'm actually going to remove global admin or remove exchange admin. Don't think he needs these. Maybe he needs Teams because he's responsible for some of our collaboration features. And so I'm actually going to start out by giving him SharePoint admin, Team service admin. And then I don't want to be impacting Ted's productivity as I'm reducing these roles. And so one of the ways that we've seen customers use the global reader role is actually assigning it as they reduce those privileges for an admin, so that Ted's still going to be able to see everything he used to see, but he's not going to be able to take all of those actions anymore. And so if I didn't get it quite right, let's say he really needed Exchange admin as well, he'd still be able to see that, and he could reach out to me and say, hey, I actually need this feature within the Exchange Admin Center. Can you please give me this role? And so if I go ahead and save these changes here, I can feel pretty confident that I've increased the security of my organization. And if I close out his user detail panel, I'm back here and looking at the assigned global admins. And if I wanted to make any additional changes, I could directly from this panel. Now, after updating roles to make sure my org is secure with the right level of privileged access, I'm already thinking about some other security features, and I kind of want to learn more. I've heard about this thing called two-factor auth, and so let's actually go and search for this. So if I search for two-factor, I'm pulling up the setting around multi-factor authentication, and I'm also pulling up a lot of documentation articles. And the new search that we've implemented is actually based off of a fuzzy search algorithm. And so even though I'm not quite searching for multi-factor authentication or any of the terms that are listed here, I'm still pulling up the right documentation and the right settings that are associated with this term. And so this can help to increase your ability to find the things you're looking for when you're using search. And so if I wanted to take a look at this article about setting up multi-factor authentication, I can get directly into that article at docs.microsoft.com, reducing the amount of time you need to spend searching for the right instructions to get your job done. Search is also supported in dark mode. So if I go ahead and enable dark mode here, I can see that the same results are coming up and it still looks beautiful, and I love dark mode, much less stressful on my eyes. And now that I'm thinking about two-factor authentication and security, I think I would really like to use some monitoring on my most important accounts. You know, who hasn't had a lovely weekend interrupted by one of your C-suite needing to send and receive email? It's a pretty common problem, and we want to help you make sure that those accounts are always running very smoothly. And so we've added this feature called priority accounts, and you can get to it through the active users list. And you can see here that I have this manage priority accounts button. And when I click on it, I am brought to the priority accounts list. And this list is meant to maintain your most important individuals in your organization, the folks that are in your C-suite, the folks that are handling really important documents. And so you can add and remove people from this list. And once they are on the list, they will have active monitoring and alerting of email issues for their account, so that you can know right away when things are happening. You'll get an alert for it. And I can also monitor these issues by clicking this Go to Report link, which takes me to the Exchange Admin Center and the report for email issues for priority accounts. So you can see here that one of these priority accounts actually had a failed message sent. And when we talk about the search features that we just covered, the things that are rolling out now are the search on every page and in context, the fuzzy search, the documentation inclusions, dark mode, the inline feedback, and improved search keywords. Expected by the end of 2020 is the inclusion of recommendations like that self-service password reset one that I showed, including pages within that setup experience, including pages within the roles experience. And I mentioned that that feedback button was going to be very important. It's because we're really looking for you to tell us which actions we should include first. So please do submit feedback through there. Let us know what you would like to see. And finally, in the speed category, I wanted to talk a little bit about domain management and removal. Within the domain experience, we've heard that it's actually pretty painful to find the information you're looking for and to complete the actions that you need to do. We've included some information and insights about the status of your domains that will help make it easier to assess what is going on. When you take a look at your domain status, you can see right away in the overview that everything is healthy or if there's an issue going on with this domain. We've also grouped the DNS records by service type so that if there's an issue with one of those records, you can very quickly see what services it might be affecting. We've also made improvements to the scenario when you may need to actually go and remove a domain if you're changing your identity or you're handling a merger. And we've added information about the users, groups, and apps that are dependent on this domain right in the domain detail page. And so I can see all of the users who are using this domain, and I can actually quickly go and transfer them to a new domain so that instead of having to hunt around for the users, groups, and apps that are dependent on it, I can see all of that information up front, and I can go and manually transfer those users and groups over to another domain, or I can use automatic domain removal, which will take the users and groups and transfer them to the default domain, and then it will let you know which apps need to be handled. You'll still need to do that step manually to transfer them over, but it does help to get everyone quickly over to the default domain. The last set of features that I want to talk about is the set within the flexibility focus area. And this is really providing seamless experiences with the tools that you use. And we really want to deliver flexibility so that you can work the way that you want. We know that IT administration requires many tools to get the job done, and we're partnering with popular tools to provide insightful, actionable integrations that will help you be more effective. And so the Microsoft 365 Admin Center is working on integrations with ServiceNow in order to make support more efficient, with Planner in order to help with change management and planning for change in your organization, and with the Microsoft Cloud Shell for quick administration that doesn't live in the GUI yet. And so I'm going to start by showing the integration with ServiceNow. When you connect Microsoft 365 to ServiceNow, you can get insights and actions from Microsoft AI while working on incidents in ServiceNow. I'm going to show you how powerful that can be. While working on an incident, I can use the Microsoft 365 Insights tab to get self-support information from Microsoft. From the Insights content, I can see that there is an ongoing incident from Microsoft that could be relevant to my issue. At the same time, I also see some related articles and tools that could help me address the issue quickly. This helps me save time I would usually spend researching articles and troubleshooting tips. I can see here some troubleshoot Outlook mobile issues and connected accounts. After investigating, I really think I need to talk to Microsoft support. So I can click the Microsoft 365 escalation button to transfer the case from my ServiceNow into Microsoft support. I get confirmation that the case was created and the Microsoft support case number. From the Microsoft 365 Insights tab, I can click the deep link to go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center and check the transferred support cases easily. So hopefully you agree that this integration with ServiceNow can help to make handling support cases more efficient for your organization. I wanted to now talk about the integration that we have with Planner. We know that change management is a pretty onerous task for a lot of organizations, There are many changes coming to the Microsoft 365 service all the time. And as the admin, you're responsible for figuring out how those changes may impact your organization. And a lot of times you want to take a look at the message center, but then also do some investigation to figure out how you think it's going to impact your organization, whether your end users are going to adopt it right away, and what support that you'll need to provide to the end users while that happens. We've integrated with Planner to make the task management of that project much easier. And so you can see here that I've got my planner set up with a plan, and I've got my buckets already laid out to take a look at things that need to be triaged, reviewed, rolling out in production, and communication. And if I want to set up this sync, I can go to the message center and start planner syncing. And when I take a look at getting this set up, I can enter the name of the plan, which I want this to be pushed to, my change management plan we just saw. And then I can either create new buckets or use the existing buckets that I have set up. I'm going to pick to triage here. When I go next, I can choose whether I want to sync all updates or only major updates. And then I can choose for which messages and which categories that I want to sync. And I can choose to import current messages up to the past 28 days, which will pull in the historical data from that time frame into Planner. And once I review and finish, this is going to set up that sync. And I can choose to automatically sync all of my messages. Once this is set up, I see when the last time it was synced to Planner and have an option to sync now. You can see that all of these message center posts are now showing up inside of my planner, and I can choose to assign this to someone. I see all of the message center details, and then I'm going to assign it to my admin and mark it as important because they're retiring some pages that we are really dependent on. And so I then move it to my reviewed bucket, and it's up to the admin to figure out what to do with it next. And I also can see some insights about what the status is of all of the messages. Going back to the admin center, I see some details about just how well that sync is performing. Hopefully, this planner integration can help you and your admin team be more efficient in the project management of managing changes within your organization. And last but not least, I wanted to talk about our PowerShell integration, which is available now. And it's really useful for quick administration across Microsoft 365. So you can see here, if I wanted to quickly check what the mailbox statistics were for one of the accounts while I was in the active users list, I could go over to the Exchange Admin Center and I could take a look at what the mailbox statistics were there, or I could just open up PowerShell inline here and I could connect to the Exchange PowerShell session and I could run that command there. And this is really powerful because you can connect to a whole host of different Microsoft modules, from Teams to Azure to Exchange, and you can run commands across those simultaneously. I've really enjoyed showcasing the enhancements that we've brought to the admin experiences that are related to helping you to be more efficient. And I'm sad it's coming to a close, and I would really like to interact with you more if you're willing. We have a few ways that you can do that. The first one is we have a survey of just what you think about our efficiency improvements and where we should be focusing our investments. And you can fill out that survey by going to the link below. And I also am going to be running a roundtable session in October. And if you join this Teams call, it gives you an opportunity to give me in-depth feedback and really shape our efficiency efforts going forward. You can sign up using the second link that is below. And then finally, I just mentioned that ServiceNow integration that we have, and that's in preview. And if you want early access to this feature, then you can sign up by sending an email to the one listed below. Unfortunately, our time has come to a close today. I hope that you enjoyed these updates as much as I did. We have a ton of additional content that you can watch, and here's a list of our admin sessions. I highly encourage watching all of them. They will all give you fantastic insight into what's going on with the Microsoft 365 admin experiences. Thank you very much for your time today.